Welcome back to Debunked. Since Debunked was put on hold back in April, there have been quite a few more videos released that need to be debunked. Therefore, for now, Debunked is back. Today's video is titled 10 Banned Roller Coasters You Can't Ride Anymore, and it came out just over 2 weeks ago. Be sure to join our Discord to find out about upcoming videos, and if you find a video you want debunked, please send it to the form in the video description. Let's get started.
Many thrill seekers would be quick to point out that riding roller coasters will give you an adrenaline rush like no other ride an amusement park can provide.
We'll also be quick to point out that it's one of the safest activities you can enjoy.
That's why they're still very popular to this day, despite many reports of accidents.
Wait, reports of accidents? Where? There's a minuscule amount of roller coaster accidents each year, and most of them are so minor they're not even worth talking about.
And on that note, today we're going to be looking at 10 banned roller coasters you can't ride anymore. Make sure you stay until number 1. This coaster story is so tragic you'll be glad it was closed down for good. Number 10. The MANTIS Cedar Point.
You can still ride this. In fact, I just did about a month ago. It may not be called MANTIS anymore, but it's still rideable as Rougarou.
Let's start out with one of the most popular theme parks in the United States, Cedar Point. Though it's not exactly a huge park.
Cedar Point is not a huge park? What are you talking about? Cedar Point is massive.
It's renowned because of its picturesque location right on Lake Erie and because it is the second oldest operating amusement park in the United States.
Notice anything strange here? Yep, for some reason he's using a mirrored video of MANTIS. Trying to avoid copyright, I guess? You know, you could just ask permission first and you wouldn't have to do this.
For a few years, one of the top rides in the park was MANTIS, a stand-up roller coaster with multiple upside downs. When the ride opened back in 1996, it was promoted as the tallest, fastest, and steepest stand-up coaster in the entire world. But in spite of its record-breaking status, the MANTIS never quite became one of the park's signature attractions. Some riders in recent years have complained the ride was rough and uncomfortable, but one of primary were complaints of backaches and pain caused by the ride. Just like the good, smart people they are, and to avoid lawsuits, they completely redid the coaster so that it's now a dangling coaster.
It's a dangling coaster, which means that you're sitting in a chair with your legs dangling. It's a dangling coaster.
Dangling coaster.
It's a dangling coaster. It's a dangling
Dangling coaster.
It's a dangling coaster with your legs
Dangling coaster.
I swear, between the multiple upside downs and dangling coaster, it feels like this video was just made as a joke.
It's nowhere near the thrill it used to be, but the memory of it lives on.
Wait, what? It's still just as thrilling, with many saying they prefer it to the very uncomfortable MANTIS.
Number 9. The Thunderbolt DreamWorld Amusement Park, Queensland, Australia. The Thunderbolt was a truly amazing roller coaster.
I swear this video must have been made as a meme. Truly amazing? It was a Misho looping coaster.
Located in DreamWorld Amusement Park, which is in Queensland, Australia, if you didn't know that. This ride was just one of the amazing attractions at this park.
Amazing attractions? The park's best ride is an Aero Looper. Hardly amazing.
The park, which has been open for over 35 years, is huge.
So DreamWorld Australia is huge and Cedar Point is small?
And is separated into different themes, including a Wiggles World, DreamWorks Experience, Rocky Hollow, Ocean Parade, and even more after that. Thunderbolt was one of the oldest roller coasters in the park, but despite its age, it continued to be one of the park's most popular attractions.
Can you please show the actual Thunderbolt, not some random No Limits coaster? Here's what the real Thunderbolt looked like.
Mainly because it was the very first roller coaster in all of Australia to feature vertical loops. Since the ride was so popular despite being old and a bit rickety, owners spent $500,000 trying to make the ride more comfortable with new coasters.
He means new trains, not new coasters. Also, this ride was removed because it had simply reached the end of its service life.
However, it didn't work and maintenance issues still raised concerns, so the ride was torn down in 2004 to make room for more modern attractions that wouldn't incite as much concern for safety. Number 8. Jetstar Casino Pier, New Jersey.
Ready to be confused? Casino Pier had a Schwarzkopf coaster named Jetstar from 1970 to the year 2000. The coaster he will be talking about was not called Jetstar, but rather Star Jet. This ride was an E&F Miler coaster that replaced Jetstar in 2002. This is the ride that famously fell into the Atlantic after Hurricane Sandy. Not Jetstar, but Star Jet. Thanks Casino Pier for the very confusing naming.
Hurricane Sandy left a lot of devastation in its wake. The intense storm was the deadliest and most intense of all of 2012, and the second costliest of any in United States history, just behind Hurricane Katrina. It crept up the Atlantic coast, wreaking havoc all throughout. Tragically, by the time it reached New Jersey, it claimed one of the most iconic roller coasters in the US.
Given the fact that you can't even get the ride's name right, it was clearly not very well known until after the hurricane.
The storm swamped the casino pier, which housed an iconic Jersey ride, the Jet Star. This is a ride that had been around for decades and had been one of the greatest attractions of Jersey shores. By some miracle, when the storm passed and all of Casino Pier was underwater, the Jet Star had remained somewhat intact, standing in the water like the remains of a flooded world. The roller coaster sitting in the ocean became an iconic symbol of the hurricane's destruction. Special removal services were hired to extract the ride, which was unfortunately entirely unsalvageable after the storm. Number 7. The GATLINBURG Mountain Coaster.
This ride is still open, what are you talking about?
Gatlinburg is one of those towns that everyone goes to visit, though it's kinda hard to explain why it's such a tourist hotspot. Nestled in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, it's a perfect mix of a relaxing venue with things to do and outdoor excursions. One of the renowned favorites was going on the GATLINBURG Mountain Coaster. It was a simple track that seated 2 riders, one in front and one in behind, and zipped them down around the gorgeous trees in the mountains. However, the famous coaster was closed in 2016 when tragically a girl fell out of her front seat on the coaster and broke both kneecaps, her wrists, and a couple of ribs, while also suffering a concussion. While an inspection report from the National Association of Amusement Ride Safety officials did not show any mechanical errors on the ride, the mountain coaster team did admit an operational issue occurred where a worker did not follow the standard procedures for buckling lap belts. Rumors are still being circulated about the ride reopening sometime soon.
This is not the first video to claim that this ride is closed. I have no clue where they got this idea, as the ride reopened a few days after this operational accident.
But who knows if anyone will ever trust the dangerous and poorly regulated ride again.
Lots of people do. I did. Why? Because they are very safe, unless your seatbelt is unbuckled, which sounds like what happened here. Expect a full what really happened video on this accident in the future. Also, you're showing goats on the roof Alpine coaster.
Number 6. The Big Dipper. Located in Bainbridge Township, Ohio, the Giga Lake Amusement Park.
It's pronounced Geauga Lake. Also, you're showing the wrong Big Dipper.
Was a pride of the state. Open since 1887, it's one of the oldest amusement parks in the United States. Although they opened without any roller coasters as attractions, one of them became one of the park's main attractions when they launched it years later. One of the favorite rides at the park was the Big Dipper, a wooden roller coaster that had been open since the 1920s. All coasters get rickety and more dangerous with age.
They do not get more dangerous with age. Once a ride is built, it is still maintained. In fact, the ride was much safer when it gave its final ride in 2007 than it was when it gave its first ride in 1925.
But this one was so well loved that it seemed to be pretty well taken care of. So if it was well maintained, why was it shut down? Unfortunately, after juggling between different owners, which includes corporate bosses like Six Flags and Cedar Fair, the park went under and was forced to shut down the ride in 2007. By the time the park closed, it was the 7th oldest wooden roller coaster in the United States, and the oldest in Ohio. The ride was finally demolished in 2016, ending the hopes that it could ever be bought and salvaged for future riders. Number 5. The Derby Racer.
Accidents that happened over 100 years ago are not even worth talking about. Next.
Number 4. The Hypersonic XLC. Well, a lot of the entries on this list are about ancient roller coasters who finally failed.
Since when was 1996 ancient?
Which was only to be expected after enduring thousands or millions of riders and countless rainstorms and tarnishings. We've got a few to talk about which were more modern coasters that were shut down due to the dangers the physics of the ride impose on the human body. The Hypersonic XLC of King's Dominion is one such ride. This roller coaster utilized compressed air to launch the 8-passenger cart up a 90-degree slope. Then were brought back into the station, which sounds kind of boring until you find out the speeds involved. Riders would be going from 0 to 80 miles per hour in approximately 1.5 seconds, which is pretty crazy if you didn't know that. Quite predictably, many riders didn't realize that their bodies may not like such rapid acceleration. Riders who put their hands up upon launch frequently suffered dislocated shoulders from the sheer force of launch.
And that's exactly why they told you to keep your
The ride closed due to several lawsuits and has been replaced at the park, despite being one of its most popular attractions. Number 3. Formula 1. For this next entry on our list, we get to fly out of the United States once again. In Pattaya Park, Funnyland in Pattaya province of Thailand stands what has been one of Thailand's most fun attractions since the early 2000s. The country, which has been undergoing attempts to sort of rebrand itself as a luxury vacation spot, offers this one theme park as a competitor to parks worldwide. To try to keep up with the competition, they tried to build a ride called Formula 1. The ride would have been designed like Virginia's hypersonic XLC, using air compression to launch riders up the track at a high rate. After the ride was mostly built, designers realized the descent post-launch would be so severe that riders would experience uncomfortably high G-force. It's a little too intense. So the ride was never opened, but it was never dismantled either.
And this, kids, is why you design a ride before you build it.
It still stands within the grounds of the theme park. Its ridiculously steep incline projecting towards the sky. Honestly though, props to them. They realized it before somebody got hurt. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's photo was sent by one of our subscribers, so if you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it on over to us.
Wait, what? A debunked in a debunked? Wow, props to this channel, I guess.
Today's best pick shows a roller coaster, or rather the tracks of one, set in a modern skyline backdrop. Now, it can be said that this could be one of the thousands of modern roller coasters that are currently operational, but as the name suggests, this is highly improbable. Just by looking at the photo, you immediately know that this isn't real. But if you're one of those people that instantly believes everything that you see on the internet, let me point one thing out. This coaster doesn't have legs to stand on. It would be cool to see tracks that are floating on air, but as of now, that possibility is still confined within the realms of fiction. Our best bet that this is a screenshot of one of those virtual roller coasters that are all the rage right now. But even that's kinda stretching it. For the reason this photo reveals something that only Windows 10 users will probably notice at once, the backdrop is actually a desktop wallpaper. So for those who are still hoping for an anti-gravity roller coaster of some sort, well, don't get your hopes up just yet. Number 1. Fujin Rajin 2. No part of this story can be considered funny. Located in Expo Land, which is in Osaka, Japan, this tall stand-up coaster was one of the most popular.
I would not say that. This park's clone of the B&M Invert Raptor was significantly more popular than this awful Togo stand-up.
The park was opened in 1970 as an homage to the International Exposition, and it contained a total of 40 rides and attractions. However amazing and popular the park used to be, the park closed for good in 2007 because of the tragic incident earlier that year. The coaster derailed mid-ride due to a broken axle, which inspectors later discovered had not been replaced in over a decade. And to make matters worse, it was discovered that this was true for the other coasters as well. Upon derailment, the car flipped. Most riders were severely injured, but one 19-year-old college student tragically lost her life as her head dragged along one of the rails for the ride for hundreds of feet. After the horrifying incident exposed how low maintenance could cause further horrors, no one returned to the park and it was forced to close. Which band roller coaster would you have wanted to ride given the chance?
Well, that was an interesting one. The fact that this video came out so recently and that it has some correct information is what puzzles me. Also, the thumbnail was originally this, but it was soon changed to this. As always, if you find a video that you want to see debunked, please send it to the link in the video description, and be sure to join our Discord for video updates and more. Thanks for watching.